What is up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new episode of this modded career mode. This time we're in France. Paul Ricard, and straight away off the bat we've got a problem with our development. It seems to be a bit of a trend here this season. You know, we're struggling a little bit with our R&D, and things just aren't coming through for us at the moment, which is obviously not ideal. Now, before we get into the race, qualifying, etc., we had an issue with the recording, so it's actually the same for the next race in Austria as well. So there's minimal, next to no replay cameras or broadcast shots throughout the race, just to the fact that for whatever reason it crashed all the way through, which was really frustrating for me, and it just overall it just sucked, like it really did. So apologies for the next two races. Hopefully after this it may be fixed for Silverstone. We'll have to see how it goes, but for now it's going to be a little bit difficult. Just try and get that kind of broadcast shots and stuff like that, like we have done in the past, and stuff like that. We can see moving through qualifying relatively quickly. There's not much going on in terms of just getting the performance down, getting the laps in and stuff like that. So practice and qualifying, and it seemed pretty good at the car. It was P2 there, and we retire, and we're actually going to get shoved back down the grid, unfortunately. Such is the thing. So we looked like we was going to have a great start and a potential great race, but unfortunately, we did get pushed down just a little bit. But no, as a whole, it shouldn't be too bad for the race. But by any stretch of imagination, obviously it's not great when this happens, but it's a bug that's plagued most of the games, and for sure it'll probably be in F1 2019, unfortunately. But we're going to look at the grid now. Lewis Hamilton on pole. Well, he was until Vettel came along earlier in the session. But Leclerc is on third. Pierre Gasly P4. Max Verstappen in fifth. Ourselves in sixth. Hulkenberg followed by Carlos Sainz and Norris in 10th. So McLaren now doing really well. Haas 11th and 12th, followed by Bottas, who had a really crappy qualifying. Teammate Kimi down in 16th, not great. Danny Kvyat with a penalty, which is quite interesting, to say the least. So throughout the season, there's periodic times where some of the teams will have penalties and other times they won't. But unfortunately for Danny Kvyat, this one was actually his. So that's the strategy we're going to go for. We may change it up depending on how our pace is and stuff like that. But we'll have to go from there and see what we can do. So, Valtteri Bottas a long way down the grid. He's going to be interesting. He's going to come up right behind us for some of the race, I almost guarantee. Charles Leclerc, awful accident last race, but hopefully his confidence is not shaken. And there is once again the pole man for this season, Sebastian Vettel, who he does really well in terms of qualifying. He's been on the pole quite a few times. Not one from pole every time, but more or less he's a pretty steady starter, especially into turn one, which is going to be interesting for us, as obviously we've got the Red Bulls just ahead of us and the Ferraris followed by Hamilton as well up in the mix. So different crash helmet for this race. We've got a bit of a Jules Bianchi mix on top and on the left hand side, but we won't worry about that. We're going to wait for the cars to come to the grid. We wait for the lights to go out anytime now. Hopefully you're going to get off to a fantastic start here in France, and we're literally going sideways. So we had a really poor getaway compared to Nico Hulkenberg, who's going to go straight round or outside. And we also had I think it's Carlos Sainz also having a little look at us, and we managed to hold off the charge from both of the Renault and the McLaren. So we're just going to tuck in behind the leaders here, and I believe it's P6. But we can see Hulkenberg a little bit further on, starting to get a little bit punchy. The leaders have absolutely just disappeared. We're really struggling with tyre wear at this point, but we're going to hold him off into turn one. And it's going to be a very conservative race for us, just trying to keep the car on the track and managing our tyre wear, trying to keep Bottas behind at least. At the bare minimum, that's what we're going to have to try and do this race. It's a miracle that he's actually behind us himself. But coming into our first pit stop really early on, ultra soft tyres really weren't a good idea. In hindsight, super soft probably would have been a bit better, which is what we're going on to now. But we're going to come out plumb last. One of the first few cars to make a pit stop in this race, but we come through and you can see all the cars were starting to overtake. We managed to actually pull a gap to the Renault, so that's obviously the undercut worked out pretty well here. That is Ricciardo, so I have to see what Hulkenberg is. Ricciardo wasn't that far behind Hulkenberg, as we're going to go down the start finish straight now, and there you can see And there's actually a very interesting car there in the pit lane, which isn't one we normally see. We've got Danny Kvyat here looking to make a move on Perez, but he's actually going to get spun round, I believe. He does indeed. So Hamilton goes wide. There's contact there, and there's actually more contact behind. So you can see we've got Leclerc, Verstappen. He just absolutely just collects him well and truly. So Kvyat gets turned around. He's minding his own business, and he's just going to chuck it in reverse. He's just clouted from the back by the Red Bull car. You can see when it come past Kvyat now, still not facing the right direction. So that's going to help us out a little bit in terms of positions. But we've got a lot of work to do in terms of overtaking to get back to where he was. We've got the Toro Rosso of Alexander Albon, who's going to give us a little bit of a squeeze there, while his teammate is probably still facing the wrong way, knowing Kvyat. I'm going to go around his outside into this tight twisting section, but that's one more position we've gained here, and we're going to move up as best we can. So we've got the McLaren just ahead here. We've got Carlos Sainz leading the whole pack of cars, but he's starting to go a little bit slowly, and then out of nowhere, Norris just goes straight into the back of him, which is going to put Norris out the race, and presumably Sainz has got a problem, so Sainz will be out the race. So both McLaren cars colliding with each other have actually ended up with a double DNF, which is crazy. On board Norris, you can see he's at the back of the Toro Rosso, and he just doesn't have that much time to react. He couldn't predict that his teammate obviously slowed down there. So both McLaren's out, which is absolutely crazy. And we've got the racing point of Lance Stroll just ahead of us, and we're going to have to go all the way onto the blue rumble strip. We're going to have to go the long way around and get that job done there on the Canadian drive. We're going to come through the start finish straight, and we're going to overtake a few more cars that are in the pit lane. And in actual fact, we're a little bit down because Bottas hasn't pit yet, so we ain't got to worry about that just yet. So P7 is a bit sketchy. We can see our tyres again aren't that great in terms of just general tyre wear and stuff like that. We just about make the pit entry then. That was really on the limit as trying to get a new set of boots. It's because our tyres weren't exactly what you would say fresh, to say the least. But coming into the pit stop, we hopefully won't be plumb last as last time. That will be Daddy Kvyat's honour, but I'm going to be amongst it, to say the least, to fight the rest of the cars and to see how we can progress through this race. And just going to come out in a little bit of traffic, not too much. We've got a little bit of a gap to, I believe that's Perez just ahead of us. And going to come down the start finish straight. You can see these two cars are going to be squabbling as we come into turn one. Perez sizing up a move on, I believe that is Kubica. So Kubica's having a bit of a meal at the moment, higher up the midfield than he's probably used to. He's going to pull to the right hand side, and looks like he's going to let us go. So we'll go around his outside nice and easy. And then got Perez to contend with. Fresh tyres, we should be able to get past him relatively easier. We got a bit more downforce on the car, so straight line speed ain't going to be great. That racing point is notorious for having a very fast car in a straight line, so we're going to have to open our DRS, everything up to 11. And in actual fact, that was probably one of the easier overtakes we're ever going to have this season. Just absolutely flew past him. Just no answer for him really. So coming down the start finish straight, we're going to regain some more positions that we had previously, and up to P10 currently, following that same thing again. So overtaking cars that have made their pit stop, and Vettel is actually behind us for a very split second. We're going to go dive down his inside, and somehow in this madness, we managed to actually jump Sebastian Vettel. Now there's a VSC just come out on track, and this is why. So we've got Perez coming down the start finish straight. Hulkenberg comes out and just clatters straight into him. No, sorry, Ricardo came out and just clattered straight into him, and DNF'd him on the straight, which is absolutely mental. So here's the battle between me and Sebastian. He manages to get us into turn one. We just go all the way around the inside, and job done. We go off the track, but luckily for us there was a VSC. Otherwise, yeah, we probably would have got smacked on the wrist flat as least. But Sebastian Vettel is going to make this Grand Prix very difficult for us, as he's going to have to try and fight back to get on his position. You can see we're going to bang tyres a little bit on the entry. Not too bad. It could have been a lot worse. But Vettel was definitely going to be the main antagonist for this Grand Prix. Now Vettel's going to try a different move this time around the outside. We bang tyres once, not twice. We bang tyres coming into this chicane. So it's getting incredibly punchy between ourselves and Sebastian Vettel. Have a look at the replay of this. This is a quality shot. So you can see we bang on the rear tyres, bang the front tyres, and it's going to be interesting to see how long we can last. Our tyres are going to go to the end, hopefully, but we're going to go a little bit wider than normal. We got bloody Ricardo trying to have a go at us now, so we've got to deal with Ricardo, Bottas at the end, and Vettel at the same time. So we've got our work cut out for us ourselves. But hopefully, with any luck, there's Bottas at some point just ahead of us. So Bottas has actually ended up spinning it round. He's going to be battling with Kimi. So I believe Bottas has one more stop to make, I think. But I can't really tell at this point. Kimi Räikkönen is going to leave the door open for us down the inside. And we're just going to ride that curb a little bit harder than we probably should have done. But you can see we're catching up to the Haas car now of Romain Grosjean. Going to dive down his inside, and there he is, Valtteri Bottas, the next car for the taking. His tyres are screaming, especially after that little half spin he had. He's definitely struggling. You can see how close we're getting and how much more pace we have. I'm going to dive down the inside, make sure he can't get a cut back. And we actually made a place on a Mercedes, a very slow Mercedes, that is true. But you know, at this point, we'll take it. Sebastian Vettel is in the rear, and he's actually going to try and make an overtake of us down into this really tight section. He's actually going to bang tyres with us again. Sebastian is not giving this up. Going to dive down his inside, just about holding. You can see our tyres are absolutely screaming as we get warnings galore. Just trying to make sure that we actually hold on to this. Bottas has got past Vettel into that corner. We pushed him a little bit wide, and we go incredibly deep into the corner. Bottas there. The tyres come up again. Screen freezes galore. It's going to be really tight to the line. Valtteri Bottas and ourselves incredibly close. We managed to get P6, which was ahead of Bottas. But in the results screen, we set the exact same time. It was a photo finish, and this happened. So yeah, so that's why there's no. Towards the end of the Grand Prix, after the McLaren incident, or the Perez incident, sorry, there was no cinematics because kicked me out of the Grand Prix, and that basically means that the Grand Prix was voided. And I'm not going to lie to you, I'm not going to repeat that race, because that race was an absolute nightmare, and, you know, one take. So if I do the race in one take, then there's no point doing it again, possibly get a better or a worse result. So we'll just stick with that. Again, the same thing happened in Austria. I'm mentioning it now, so I don't have to mention it in that video, which was, I thought I lost that footage, to be fair, I'm not going to lie to you, but here we go. We've got the contract negotiation screen. We've got a pretty sweet contract at the moment with this team. We're going to try and up the ante just a little bit, and hopefully see what we can get a little bit better out of it. But it's just that point of the season. I think the next race, it's going to be make or break for the rest of the season, because we need to get a lot more R&D done, and the quality control so far has been an absolute nightmare in terms of actually getting the parts on the car and not having them fail. But you can see, a bit ambitious this time round. We're going to have to try again, trying to reduce this a little bit and see if that helps us. It reduces not enough, so we've got one more shot, or we're going to get a really crappy contract. Change that up, move that to there, try this. Bang on, you couldn't get that any closer to you know, actually getting that working. So brand new contract. You can see we've got this in development for hopefully the next race, but you can't really, you know, count on anything so far this season. Haven't really got much going on there, but that's been it for that. So we actually glossed over the standings for the drivers, so let's have a look at the standings now. So Lewis Hamilton taking the lead just ahead of Leclerc, Gasly not too far ahead. Vettel's falling down the order a little bit. We're still just behind Bottas, but quite clear of the Renaults, which is obviously good. Constructors haven't changed much other than Mercedes are now on top, which is quite interesting to say the least. But that's been it from me, guys. This episode's been a bit all over the place just due to the fact of the crashing and stuff like that. Screen freezers galore. It seemed to be a lot recent at the end of this game. People are struggling quite a bit with the game itself, so hopefully get this out with no problems, and that'll be that. But until next time, guys, take it easy. Bye bye.